I'm very much from an FX background. I actually look after local markets as well now, so rates and credit. In FX, I think 99% of our trades by number of tickets now are done electronically, and therefore the vast majority of what we do in FX is in an electronic or digital world, and to not have a strategy for how we deal with our clients today would be kind of nuts. And then the longer term answer is actually the previous presentation, which looked at how the industry is functioning now. And we have a productivity issue. I probably don't want to say this in an open forum, but it's true across all of global markets, particularly in the fixed income space. Our revenues versus the cost of running that business doesn't really stack up at the moment. And therefore, to fix that productivity issue, we need to think digitally. How are we going to revolutionize the way the bank works? Not just, can we put a new e-platform out to our clients, but really change the way we work as a bank.
And to that, you've kind of described a little bit there, but maybe just expand a bit further, that there's a real distinction between the internal digital strategy and the external digital strategy within that, right? It's really two different components.
Yeah, completely. And actually, I spend a lot of time trying to explain this to people I work with who are very old school and just think everything, it's E, it must be Joe in some way. The sales tools are the same as the external tools, and it's all just one thing, right? It's all IT. No, to me, they're very, very different. There's some overlap, obviously. My boss has a very succinct way to put it. I would say we have an issue with fixing the shit, which is dealing with our productivity issue, and then also building the future. Those are the two things we do, according to my boss. And the fixing the shit is very much internal. We have a huge amount of legacy systems, again, back to that previous presentation, which cause a lot of problems, are very expensive to keep the lights on, and updating them is very costly. We need to focus on that. That's a clear internal digital strategy. And then building the future. How do we fix our productivity issue? How do we revolutionize the way sales operates and also the way we interact with our clients? How can we look at the way other industries have gone down a completely digital path? If you look at retail banking, it's way ahead of global markets and investment banking.
And to that point, in fact, I'm going to go for a shush. Do you think we should go for a shush? Just like one last one of the evening? Shh. Very effective. Okay, to that point, applications and differentiation with clients is absolutely crucial. You've talked about the internal use case of productivity and everything else that goes with that. But it's also about that differentiation with the clients. And I know you guys obviously have remodeled the Cortex FX trading platform. It's built on OpenFin, which we're super pleased about. And maybe Nick, you could just explain for people, what is Cortex for your customers?
Yep. Yeah, sure. So Cortex is BNP Paribas brand for our electronic trading platforms. Cross-asset, so that covers FX, rates, commodities, algorithmic execution, and also futures as well. And as you said, we've recently, in FX in particular, we dubbed it Cortex Live. We've reintroduced that to the market. We've added some functionality. We've built it on the OpenFin technology and architecture. And really, we were looking at four things when we were doing so. We had a good opportunity to look at the market and say, what do clients want, and how can we deploy that? And interestingly, a lot of the fireside chats, people touched on a few things. So, intuitive. So looking at the UX. So we had a really good opportunity to redesign it, get UX designers, work with clients. Secondly, it was about making it a lot more interactive. So, our platform has gone from a two-dimension platform where we put our prices out to clients trade on those prices, and it was really kind of that two-dimension, to add in a third dimension for clients looking at data, visualization, and then thirdly, all this data we're now supplying through our single dealer platform, Cortex, it's about adding intelligence over that. And as Joe touched on, productivity in our organization, but also at clients are having to do more with less. So, an execution desk, who are the end users of Cortex, or one of the end users, they've gone from just looking at FX, now looking at FX, credit, rates. So on their screen, they've got so much going on. We had to add some intelligence to that to be able to take all the data and spit out information that was really relevant to them. And we did that through introducing Alex, which is the FX first digital trading assistant. So Think of Alexa for Amazon and Siri for Apple. BNP Paribas now has Alex.
Yeah, and having seen, I had the privilege of looking at Cortex Live when we was down in Barcelona for the FX conference, and it struck me that you had two very distinct areas. I think the world is obviously becoming more automated, and there's a lot of algorithmic trading, obviously blended within the Cortex product, but it struck me that the visualization piece of what you guys have done, I think, is super good. I think we see that as a real trend. Visualization of data, really important. And then the notification and alerting as well. And you just mentioned Alex, the digital assistant, but maybe Joe, for everyone, you can just expand a little bit on Alex.
Sure. As Nick just said, it's our first digital trading assistant. Drew the analogy to various retail products, whether with Siri or Alexa, and that's very much the future of where we see it going, and that comes back to the building the future. So at the moment, Alex does a great job in terms of push messaging to clients around data and events. So if you're in the middle of an algo execution, it will tell you there's been a potential change in the environment you're operating in, i.e. it's become more volatile, liquidity's become a lot less, or it will simply prompt you and say there's a data event coming up, do you want to try and close the algo execution before you get to that data event? But longer term, we see Alex as being much more than that. We want to build it out across the platform so it becomes the center of the client execution. It becomes the center of all their interactions, in fact, with BNP Paribas. So coming back to, as I said earlier, how can we change the way that we operate, A, as a bank ourselves, but B, also the way we interact with our clients? And that comes back to that analogy of the kind of retail products. And the phrase I've been using in a lot of interviews with the press is to draw a leaf out of Silicon Valley's book and say, look, for example, if I'd have said to my mum 10 years ago that she would tell a robot in her kitchen to order more kitchen roll when she ran out, she'd have thought I was absolutely mental. But in fact, that is now what's actually happening in my 65-year-old mother's kitchen. But in the world of global markets, we're still incredibly old school. We're still a huge amount of stuff that's still done very manually. So in the end, what we want to do is have all of our communication go through Alex. So all of the notifications, whether it's about barrier events on option trades, whether it's about here's a new piece of research we think you should read, whether it's a trade idea that we think actually would fit you because we've done predictive analytics on what you as a client like to trade, what you're interested in, because we've been monitoring what you've been reading in terms of research. We want to pull all of that together in one place and make the center of that relationship be Alex.
And I also really liked the fact that I thought the visualization was great for the more technical users, right? They could see the profile of the model, what it's doing at any point, change the parameters and so on, which is great for the kind of richer, more technical user. But then Alex really bridging that gap for maybe people who are coming from, say, more the high-touch space, starting to use electronic tools and having something really interpret what the models are doing for them, in nice spoken English that everybody understands, which I think is super crucial. So no, I thought that's really impressive. And I guess if we think about innovation and pace of innovation, and we can even think about it in browser terms, right? So Internet Explorer used to make a release, every year or so, and then Chrome come along, it's making releases every 6 weeks. And with that, in one last kind of update, it carried 55 kind of security patches. There's a real pace of innovation. So when people deliver innovation, it's not just about delivering out to the desktop. It's also about security. But how do you guys think about getting that innovation to your desktops? Maybe Nick.
Yeah, sure. So we're at this pivot point where we're migrating over from old technology onto the OpenFin infrastructure, and really we need to deploy that out to our 1,500 clients that are actively using this product as soon as possible. So building on an OpenFin has allowed us to do that. And then once we've done that, we really want to kind of, as Joe said, take a leaf out of Silicon Valley. You go away from kind of deploying stuff on a monthly basis and really kind of start being a bit more nimble, listening to what clients are saying, deploying products and enhancements to suit their needs as quickly as possible.
And I know, we've talked a lot about FTC3 this evening and application interoperability. There's obviously, major vendors have spoken on stage this afternoon, this evening about that. But I know you guys have started to engage clients as well directly about interoperability and what that could mean with the Cortex Live platform. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So clients have every single bank out there has a single dealer platform, an FX platform. They really, if our platform isn't integrated into their workflows, it's not going to survive. So one of the key features that we looked at was about integration. So we're really excited by using the OpenFin architecture. We're able to really integrate deeply into the FX ecosystem, and in particular into our clients' workflows. So, as you said, we're doing this at the moment with a large asset manager. They're integrating their workflows to call on some of our services, both third-dimensional data services, and then call back into their systems. We're doing that on kind of multiple threads, but really, if we're looking at the future of our platform, we really need to make sure that we integrate into our clients' workflows, and the OpenFin allows us to do that. So we're super excited about that.
Great. And just to wrap up, so I'm definitely aware we're out of time, but Joe, I know Symphony Innovate event was in New York, I guess 4 weeks ago now, and you guys won the Innovate Award. Maybe share with the audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, it comes back to, I mean, I could talk for hours about this, so I'll try and keep it brief. It comes back to the same thing of how do you build the future. And what we won the award for was a very badly titled RFQ bot, which literally does what it says on the tin. We couldn't come up with a more imaginative name. But the key thing about that tool is that it brings together a lot of services we've built in-house. And listening to some of the earlier presentations, we've built in-house, for example, a whole NLP library, which is asset-specific. So we've built an NLP library for FX, for rates, for commodities, for equities. So we draw upon that service for FX. So it allows the bot to basically sit in a chat room in Symphony. A client can ask an FX request, any cash product, so as long as it's not options, any cash product. And they can ask it in any format they want. They can ask for cable. It will know what cable is. Whatever format, whatever syntax you use, provided it's common parlance, our NLP service will be able to process it. We've then plugged it into our existing e-pricing framework. So then it just gets a streaming price. That price will tick on the screen. And then if the client executes against the bot, in the Symphony chat room, that's then already sitting on top of our e-booking architecture, and if they're integrated with us, they'll get that STP straight into their system and into our risk as well. So from the point of view of us, as BNP Paribas, we can have a client executing against us in Symphony, no human intervention whatsoever. That will be STP risk managed on our side with no human intervention, and STP'd into that client on their side with no human intervention as well. So it's live at the moment in Symphony. We're testing it out with a few different clients. It's a proof of concept as to what we can build. Ultimately, we may well look to put that into Alex in Cortex. Sounds a bit crazy given it's a single dealer platform, but the idea being that we put Alex at the center of everything again and allow clients to manage their kind of execution and everything else they do through Alex.
That's awesome. And no, gents, I think, congratulations to BNP Paribas for building a great application, and thanks for giving me a demo recently as well. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Joe, Nick, thanks so much for joining me.
Perfect.
And yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.